The desert wind howled like a wounded beast. Raiden pulled his scarf tight across his face. Grit filled the air, scratching his goggles, sticking to his skin. The twin suns above the alien planet scorched everything. He had been walking alone for 3 hours, tracking mineral signals from his scanner. He was a human prospector, just one of many trying to make a living by digging in alien lands. But something felt strange today. Through the dust storm, a shape appeared, small, barely moving. It looked like someone crawling. Raiden stopped. He narrowed his eyes and aimed his long-range lens. It was a girl. An alien girl. She was on her hands and knees in the sand. Her skin shimmered with a silver glow, but it was turning blue around her neck and shoulders. Her hair was tangled with thorns. She wasn't moving anymore. "Hello," Raiden called out, moving closer. No answer. He knelt beside her. Her breathing was shallow. Her eyes fluttered open for just a second, bright purple eyes, filled with pain and fear. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Then she collapsed again. Raiden tapped his comlink. "I found someone, an alien girl. She's been bitten or poisoned. She needs help." A voice came through the static. It was Tarlin, the alien guide assigned to his expedition. "Leave her. If she's got blue burn, she's already marked. The desert will take her. That's our way." Raiden stood still for a moment. The desert wind hit his back. Sand piled up around the girl's fragile body. He looked down at her again. She was just a teenager, maybe 17. "What happened to her?" Raiden asked. Tarlin's voice turned cold. "She is one of the dishonored. She refused command. She ran. The venom is justice." "Justice?" Raiden spat. "That's what you call this?" He didn't wait for a reply. He cut the comlink and lifted the girl gently into his arms. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten for days. Raiden found a nearby rock cave hidden behind tall red cliffs. He laid her on a blanket, covered her with his emergency thermal sheet, and started a small heater. She was burning up. Her skin was hot to the touch, but her lips were turning pale. Then he saw the wound. A deep bite mark on her thighs, too curved. Fang holes leaking black liquid. Raiden cursed under his breath. He had read about desert fang beasts. Their venom spread fast. It twisted nerves, melted muscle. No cure had ever been approved for humans or aliens. He opened his medkit. Useless, human medicine didn't work on alien venom. She moaned weakly, her hands trembling. Raiden stared at the bite. There was only one way. He grabbed a sterile knife, made a small cut near the bite, and pressed his mouth to the wound. He sucked. The taste was bitter like rust and fire. His head spun instantly. His vision blurred. He spat out the venom and went again. Then again, then again. He fought the nausea building in his chest. His own lips went numb. His fingers tingled. He knew he was pushing it. But he didn't stop. Finally, when the black blood slowed, he pulled back. She was breathing deeper now. Night came. Raiden sat by the small heater, dizzy and shivering. The girl stirred. Her eyes opened just a little wider this time. She looked at him, her lips parted. "You? Human?" She whispered. He nodded. "Yeah, you're safe. At least for now." She blinked slowly. "You shouldn't have done that." "Too late," he said, trying to smile. "My name," she breathed. "Lariah." "Nice to meet you, Lariah. I'm Raiden, the guy who just sucks poison out of your leg." A weak laugh escaped her lips. Then her face turned serious. They wanted me to die." Raiden leaned in. She tried to speak again, but her eyes closed. She fell into a deep sleep. Raiden looked out at the desert. The sandstorm had passed, but danger wasn't gone. Who was this girl? Why did her people want her dead? And what had he just stepped into? Raiden woke up coughing. His mouth was dry, and his throat burned like fire. The taste of poison still lingered on his tongue. His hands shook as he reached for his water bottle and took small sips. Beside him, Lorea still lay under the thermal blanket, her face pale and sweating. Her breathing had slowed, but the black lines on her leg were still there, though they weren't spreading anymore. Raiden rubbed his temples. Maybe I bought her time. Or maybe I doomed us both, he thought. He opened his scanner and checked his own vitals. Heart rate high, blood pressure unstable. Apiva, he was still alive. For now, he stepped outside the cave to get some air. The desert looked peaceful now, glowing orange under the twin morning suns. But Raiden knew it was a false calm. Somewhere out there, someone had wanted this girl dead and they might be watching. He activated the comlink again. Tarlin, I need answers. The alien's voice came through with a hiss. You're still with her? I saved her life. Silence. She's stable, but I need treatment for venom burn. For both of us. You risked your blood for a traitor, Tarlin said coldly. If you return with her, you'll be marked too. Raiden's fists clenched. I don't care about your rules. She's just a kid. She refused the war command. Her bloodline is cursed now. I don't give a damn about curses. Where's the nearest outpost with medical tech? None will treat her, not while she wears that mark. Raiden looked back at the girl's leg. Tattooed near the bite wound was a small symbol, 2 crescent moons crossed by a blade. He hadn't noticed it last night. What does that mark mean? Raiden asked. She's been venom marked by the High Order. That venom is not from a beast. It was placed by her own people. A silent sentence. Raiden stared, horrified. You poisoned your own. Tarlin's voice was sharp. She was warned. She chose peace over war. That is betrayal. And then he cut the signal. Raiden returned to the cave, feeling sick not just from the venom, but from what he'd just heard. He sat beside Lorea. Her eyes were open again, half-lidded, glassy with pain. They did this to you, he said softly. Your own kind. Her lips trembled. I spoke. Against the council. I begged them not to go to war with the humans. I said, we should talk, share knowledge. Raiden nodded. That was brave. No, it was stupid, she said, voice weak. They called me a disgrace. I was born into the bloodline of generals. They expected me to lead armies, not speak of peace. So they marked you for death, he whispered. They didn't want the shame of a trial, she said. So they used venom. Quiet, slow, public enough for others to see and fear. But quiet enough to pretend it never happened. Raiden clenched his jaw. She reached for his hand. Why did you save me? I didn't think, Raiden said. I just saw someone dying and I couldn't leave you. Lorea's grip was weak, but it held. You risked your life for me. That means something, even if they say it doesn't. Right, Raiden? Helped her drink some water. I'm going to find a way to cure you, even if your people won't help. You can't. No one survives venom marking. No one ever fights it off. Then you'll be the first. Raiden activated his tablet and searched for field records. The venom called Yaltara poison was banned in many parts of the galaxy. It was engineered, not natural. Designed to rot the body over days. Slowly, painfully, and worst of all, lit changed with each victim. Adapting to make cure impossible. Except for one small Note-1 plant species had once slowed it. The Cellin root found deep in the stone jungle, days away from here. Raiden checked his supplies. He had 3 oxygen canisters left, barely enough for 2 days. No backup, no signal beacons. He looked at Lorea. Her eyes were closed again, but her chest still rose and fell. If he waited, she'd die. If he left, he might not make it back. But he couldn't stay here and do nothing. Raiden got to his feet, pulled on his gear, and looked down at her one last time. "I'll come back," he said. "I promise." Then he stepped out into the burning winds again, alone. Raiden returned after 2 days limping, burned by sun and barely breathing. His body was scratched and bruised. His suit had torn in 3 places. One oxygen tank was empty. His scanner was broken. But in his hand, wrapped tightly in cloth, was the Selenruta. Strange glowing plant with white threads curling from its core. He stumbled into the cave and collapsed. Beside Lorea, her skin was cold now. The black veins had spread further up her leg and along her side. Her breath was shallow, and her lips had turned almost gray. Raiden's voice cracked. "Lorea, I'm back." Her eyes opened just a little. "Is that it?" she whispered. Rayden. Nodded. "Took 2 nights, 5 close calls, and 1 angry stone beast. But I got it." He carefully crushed the root into powder, mixed it with water, and poured it into a small tube. "Drink this." Slowly, he said. She barely managed to sip, but she did. Her body trembled. Her back arched in pain. She screamed once and then fell unconscious. Raiden held her hand through it all. He didn't sleep that night. By morning, the color had begun to return to her face. The black veins had stopped spreading. She was breathing easier. Raiden sat beside her, exhausted but hopeful. He took slow sips of water and studied the strange mark on her leg again. The twin moons crossed by a blade. That mark wasn't just a punishment, it was a warning. Whoever gave it had power, royal, military, or both. Raiden reached for his tablet and began scanning records stored in his memory chip. The planet's history was full of noble families, bloodlines of generals, diplomats, and rulers. He found something. The House of Lorana, line of warlords known across the stars. They ruled this planet for generations, leading wars against other systems. But one name was different. Lorea Loren, youngest child of High Warlord Merrick Loren, born with psychic potential, trained in military strategy, expected to command fleets by age 20. But she refused. Raiden leaned back against the cave wall. Stunned, she's not just a girl who said no to war. She's the daughter of a warlord. A royal. No wonder they wanted her gone quietly. Later, when she opened her eyes, she looked stronger. She sat up slowly, breathing deep. "It's working," she whispered. "The pain is fading." Raiden smiled. "Told you I'd find a way." She looked at him closely, her eyes soft. "Why are you still here? You think I'd leave you after all this? You don't even know who I am." "I do now," he said. She froze. "How much do you know?" "You're Lorea Loran, daughter of the warlord who's trying to start a war with humanity. You refused to fight. They marked you as a traitor. That about right?" She looked away. "Yes, but it's more than that." Raiden waited. "I saw visions," she said softly. "Dreams. Fire in the skies. Millions dead. My people. Yours. I begged my father to stop the war plans. I told him what I saw. He called me cursed. He said I was weak, unworthy of our bloodline. And then they poisoned you." She nodded. Raiden stared into the fire. "Your people. Believe strength means silence. But you spoke. I didn't think it would cost me everything." "You're wrong," he said. "It didn't cost you everything. It made you something more." She looked at him, confused. "You saw the truth. Before anyone else, you tried to stop bloodshed, stop weakness. That strength they can't understand. Luraya's eyes filled with tears. No one had ever said that to her before, not even her own family. Outside the cave, sharp whine cut through the air. Raiden stood quickly, pulling out his weapon. It was a scout drone's, small, fast, and dangerous. It scanned the area with red beams. Raiden fired. The drone exploded in midair, sparks raining down. Damn it, they've found us. Luraya stood, swaying but stronger. They'll come now. Then we move, Raiden said. She nodded. There's an old com tower 2 kilometers east. I can override it and send a coded message to a contact. Someone who still believes in peace. Someone you trust. She smiled, faintly. I don't know if I trust anyone anymore. But I trust you. Raiden grabbed his pack and helped her walk. They left the cave, shadows stretching behind them. Now the hunted ones were heading toward the signal fire. And the truth was no longer hiding. Asterisk, the desert was quiet, but too quiet. Raiden and Luraya moved quickly through the jagged rocks, heading toward the old communication tower. Luraya leaned on him, still weak, but walking now. Her strength was coming back, but slowly. Raiden kept looking behind them. Something felt wrong. Birds weren't flying. Dust wasn't moving. Even the wind had stopped. There near Luraya. Whispered Raiden didn't ask how she knew. He trusted her now. Her instincts were sharp. Her people may have left her, but she was still one of them, trained in tactics, combat, and survival. The tower finally appeared over the hill. It was tall, broken in places, with rusted metal beams sticking out like bones. A forgotten structure from a forgotten war. We can use the backup console in the base, Luraya said. It still works. They climbed into the control chamber. Luraya began tapping buttons. Lights flickered. A low hum came from the wall. It's working, she said. I just need a few minutes. Raiden took position near the entrance, rifle ready. Then the first blast hit. Boom. The tower shook. Rocks exploded behind them. Raiden ducked. Snipers. He returned fire, hitting nothing. Whoever was out there, they were good. We have to. Move, he shouted. No. If I stop now, the message won't send. Luraya yelled back. A second explosion rocked the chamber. Shadows moved outside, 3 figures in black armor. Faces covered, weapons glowing with blue plasma. Royal hunters, cover. Me? Luraya cried. Raiden ran to the window, fired his rifle again. One hunter fell. Another rolled to cover and fired back. The blast missed Raiden by inches. Come on, old tower, hold together. Luraya muttered. She pressed one last command. The screen blinked green. Message sent. Then the wall behind her shattered. A hunter burst through. Raiden tried to shoot, but he was too slow. The hunter slammed him to the ground. Raiden's head hit hard. Everything spun. When Raiden opened his eyes, he was bleeding from his forehead. The hunter was gone, but Luraya was gone too. He crawled to the edge of the broken wall. Down below, in the sand, the hunters were dragging her away, her hands bound, her body limp. No. Raiden's voice was weak, but his anger was strong. He grabbed his knife and what was left of his gear. He was going after her. The trail led deep into the canyons. The sun had set. The desert was dark now, cold and full of shadows. Raiden moved silently, staying low, using every rock and shadow for cover. He saw the hunters set up camp beside a fire. Luraya was tied to a post, still awake, but weak. One hunter laughed. She thought she could send a signal, but no one will come. No one cares. Another one kicked her. They called you princess once. You're just a traitor. Raiden's blood boiled. He counted the hunters. 3 left, 1 injured from earlier. He had no gun now. Just a knife and his rage. He waited, watched, then he struck. The first hunter never saw him coming. One silent cut. The second turned too late. Raiden grabbed his weapon and fired. The third lunged at him, but Raiden dodged, slammed him with the stolen rifle, and knocked him out cold. Breathing hard. Shaking, Raiden ran to Lariah. "I told you I'd come back," he said. She looked at him with glassy eyes. "You idiot." "Yeah," he smiled, "but I'm your idiot." He untied her and helped her up. "You sent the message, right?" She nodded. "Yes, if he got it, he'll come." "Who?" "My mother's old general. One of the few who still believes in truth." Raiden looked at the dark sky. "Let's hope he still listens." Suddenly, lights filled the sky bright, fast, and descending. DROP-SHIPS. 3 of them. Lariah gasped. "That's not him. Those are royal ships. They tracked the signal," Raiden said, "are coming to finish what they started." "Then we run," Lariah said. "No," Raiden said. "We make our stand." She looked at him, surprised. "We'll die. Not today." He turned to the unconscious hunter and took the rest of their gear. Then he handed Lariah a weapon. "You said you didn't want to fight," he said softly, "but now you fight to live." Lariah stood tall, her voice steady now. "For peace, I'll fight." And together, side by side, they prepared to face the empire that tried to kill her. The desert sky turned red. 3 royal dropships landed on the canyon ridge, metal wings glowing under the moons. Troops in silver armor stepped out silent, in formation. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. Raiden stood with Luriai behind. A wall of rocks below. His stolen rifle was charged. Lariah held a plasma blade in both hands, even though her arms still shook. "You don't have to fight," Raiden said again. "Yes, I do," she whispered. "Not just for me, for what's right." Raiden smiled faintly. "Then we'd do it together." The first shots came fast blue beams slicing through the night. Raiden fired back, aiming carefully. He wasn't a soldier, but he was human, and humans were good at surviving the impossible. Beside him, Lariah moved like lightning, using the rocks for cover. She deflected one blast with her blade, rolled forward, and struck one of the soldiers across the chest. They fell. She didn't stop. But there were too many. Raiden was hit shoulder burn. He cried out, dropped behind cover. Lariah turned. "Raiden." "I'm okay," he yelled. "Keep moving." They were outnumbered 10-1. But then suddenly a loud boom echoed across the canyon. The sky lit up. Another ship descended from the clouds, but this one was black, covered in old sigils, and powered by thrusters so loud they shook the rocks. It landed between the royal forces and Raiden's position. Doors opened. A tall alien stepped out, gray armor, long silver beard, one eye covered by a war-scarred patch. Lariah gasped. "General Kale." The royal soldiers froze. Some even stepped back. Kale raised his voice. "You poison your own blood. You hunt your own future. And now you come to silence truth." He looked at Lariah. "Child of peace, I received your message. I will stand by you." Then he gave the signal. His soldiers poured from the ship, fewer in number, but faster, fiercer, loyal to the old ways. The canyon exploded in battle. Raiden pulled himself behind Kale's troops. A medic from Kale's unit saw his wound and patched his shoulder. "You're the human, right?" the medic asked. "The one who saved her." "Yeah," Raiden groaned. "Not as fun as it sounds." The medic grinned. "You're already a legend." Raiden watched Lariah fight beside the general. She moved like she had fire in her blood. But even with Kale's help, the enemy was strong. Raiden grabbed a fallen rifle and joined in. After 20 minutes of hard fighting, the royal forces retreated. Dropships lifted off. Soldiers vanished into the skies. Loraya fell to her knees, gasping. Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. "You carry your mother's spirit," he said, "and your father's stubbornness." Loraya looked at him. "Come again." This was just the beginning. "Yes," Kale nodded. "But now the galaxy has seen their shame, and your light." Raiden walked over, dirty and tired. "So, does this mean you're not dying anymore?" Loraya laughed softly. "I think I'm finally starting to live." They returned to the old tower. Kale brought healers. They gave Loraya a full cure, something more powerful than the Cellin root. It burned through the last of the venom, cleaned her blood, and repaired her nerves. Her body healed. But something else changed, too. She stood straighter. Now her voice grew stronger. Even her eyes, once full of fear, now held fire. Raiden watched her from the side, quietly impressed. Kale came to him. "You didn't have to save her." "Why did you?" Raiden looked at the horizon. "Because no one else did." "That kind of loyalty is rare," Kale said. "You've earned a place beside her." "I'm just a miner," Raiden said. "No," Kale replied. "You're a protector. And protectors shape the future." Later that night, under the stars, Loraya sat beside Raiden at the campfire. "I thought I'd die out here," she said. "Alone?" "You almost did," he said, "but not anymore." She looked at him. "I have no crown now, no home, no army." "You have a voice," Raiden said. "That's more powerful than any crown." She smiled. "And you?" "I'm just a guy who makes bad decisions and somehow survives them." They both laughed, but Loraya grew quiet again. "The war? It's still coming." "I know," Raiden said. "Then let's face it together." She reached out and held his hand. In that moment, nothing else mattered. The stars burned bright overhead, and two survivors sat quietly, tired, changed, and ready for whatever came next. The sun rose over the red hills of the alien desert, shining down on a new morning and a new purpose. Loraya stood outside the camp, facing the wind. Her silver cloak fluttered behind her. Her skin, once sick and bruised, now glowed with health. The black venom scars were gone. Her hands no longer trembled. She was no longer the dying girl in the sand. She was becoming something else, something stronger. Behind her, Raiden watched in silence. He had never seen someone change so fast. Just a few days ago, she had needed help to breathe. Now she stood tall like a commander, but not one of war, one of change. "You look different," Raiden said, walking up beside her. Loraya turned to him and smiled. "I feel different, still weak." "No, I feel like fire and light are burning in my chest. I'm not sure if it's the healing serum or something else." Raiden nodded. "It's called hope. You're getting used to it." They shared a small laugh. Then General Kale joined them. "The message you sent reached more than just me," he said to Loraya. "Others have heard. Some are beginning to question the council." Loraya nodded. "Then it's time I stop." Hiding, that afternoon, Loraya walked into the canyon with Kale and Raiden at her side. A crowd was already waiting. Soldiers, healers, civilians, even old merchants from distant outposts. Word had spread. The girl marked for death had lived, and now she was calling for something greater. She stepped forward and stood on a raised stone. Her voice echoed through the quiet. "My name is Loraya of House Loran," she said, "but I do not speak for war. I speak for truth." No one interrupted her. "I was poisoned by my own blood, left to die in the sand. Not because I was weak, but because I refused to lead a war that would burn both human and alien lives." Murmurs in the crowd. Kale stood silently beside her, arms crossed. His presence made the crowd listen. And I was saved, she continued. Not by my people, but by a human. A minor. A stranger with no armor, no power, no reason to help. He risked everything to save someone marked for death. She pointed to Raiden. Some aliens turned to look at him. Raiden felt a little awkward. He scratched the back of his neck. This is the strength we need, Lariah said. Not more weapons, not more fear. But courage, the kind that stands alone, even when the world walks away. There was silence. Then one voice called out, "You are not alone." Another, "We hear you." And then the crowd began to cheer. Lariah stepped down. Her legs shook slightly, but not from weakness, from the weight of what she had just started. That evening, Kale sat with Raiden in the command tent. "You understand what this means?" Kale said. Raiden nodded. "She's a symbol now." "Yes, a symbol the council will want to destroy." Raiden looked toward the tent where Lariah rested. "Then we keep her safe." Kale leaned in. "There's talk of rebellion. Peaceful, but loud. Entire provinces are refusing council orders. They follow Lariah now." "Good," Raiden said. "Let them see what real strength looks like." Kale smiled. "And you, human? Will you stay in the shadows or stand with her in the light?" Raiden thought for a moment, then answered, "Where she stands, I stand." Later that night, Lariah stood at the edge of camp, watching the stars. Raiden joined her. "You did it," he said. "They believe in you." Lariah was quiet. Then she said, "I didn't do it alone." She turned to him. "You changed everything." He laughed. "I just sucked venom out of your leg. Let's not get dramatic." But Lariah didn't smile this time. "No one ever saw me," she said softly. "Not for who I really was. They only saw duty, power, a name." She stepped closer. "But you saw me when I was broken. And you stayed." Raiden looked into her eyes. "I'd do it again." She reached for his hand, held it tightly. "I'm not afraid anymore," she whispered. "Not of the council, not of death." Raiden pulled her gently closer. "Then let's show them what they should be afraid of." Together, they stood under the stars, no longer outcasts, but rising leaders of a quiet storm. The fire was back in her veins, not from venom, but from purpose. She had fallen. She had bled, but now she stood again. The great hall of the High Council was silent. 12 elders, dressed in dark ceremonial robes, sat in a wide circle beneath a glowing dome. Each one carried the mark of a different noble house. Their eyes were sharp, cold, watching. Guards in polished armor lined the walls, still and silent like statues. Then the doors opened. Lariah stepped into the chamber. Her cloak shimmered silver, her shoulders straight, her voice calm. No fear in her eyes. Behind her walked General Kale, battle-scarred but proud. And beside her, in plain desert gear, walked Raiden, the only human in the room. Gasps echoed from the crowd. "She's alive. She dares return here. With a human." Lariah stepped forward without flinching. "I speak not as a daughter of House Lorraine," she began, "but as someone who is left to die in the sand for choosing peace over war." The elders remained silent. Lariah's voice grew stronger. "You marked me with venom, hoping silence would bury truth. But truth lives. It stands in front of you." An elder finally stood. His voice thundered. "You betrayed your bloodline. You stood against your father's command. Do you deny this?" "No," Lariah said. "I am proud of it." More gasps. Another elder rose. "You came here without an army, without titles, and you bring a human into our sacred council." Raiden stepped forward. "I didn't come for politics. I came for the one you tried to erase. The same elder sneered. Psh! A miner with a stolen rifle and an unworthy cause. Kale growled low. He is the reason she lives, and I stand with him. The room stirred. Lariah lifted her hand. Let him speak. Raiden took a deep breath. I'm not special, he began. I was just in the right place when everyone else walked away. I saw someone in pain and chose to help. He looked around, and that choice changed everything. He turned to Lariah. She didn't beg me to save her. She didn't even ask, but she fought to live. She fought to speak. And now you call that a crime. The elders didn't respond. Raiden continued. You claim strength, but it was fear that made you poison your own. She stood for peace. You buried her voice. He pointed at the crest above the chamber too. Moons crossed by a blade. That mark was meant to silence her. But now it's your shame. The head elder finally spoke. His voice old and deep. You dare accuse us. And yet you stand without power. Lariah stepped forward. He has something. None of you do. The courage to act when no one else would. That is true power. Kale raised his voice, and others now follow her. Entire provinces reject your rule. You cannot kill her voice. It has spread. The elder's eyes narrowed. Abden, what do you demand? Lariah looked him in the eye. I ask for the mark to be lifted, for the council to admit what was done. Whispers filled the chamber. And if we refuse, the elder asked. Raiden stepped up again. Then the people will choose. For themselves, and when they do, they'll remember who dared to speak first. Outside the chamber, news spread fast. Crowds gathered, chanting Lariah's name. Soldiers dropped their weapons and stood beside the people. Banners of the old council were torn down. A new symbol was raised, a single silver flame. The council met in private, their power slipping away, and finally, the mark was lifted. Officially, Lariah was no longer a traitor. Unofficially, she was now a legend. Weeks passed in a quiet garden behind the new peace embassy. Raiden and Lariah walked side by side. She looked brighter now. Her smile came easier. The war was closer than anyone knew, she said. We stopped it. 4. Now Raiden nodded. You did? She looked at him. No, we did. He looked down, a little shy. So what now? Back to mining rocks. She laughed. Not unless you want to. But I could use someone to help build something better. Raiden smirked. A new council? Maybe, she said. Or maybe just a new story. She held out her hand. He took it. Together, they stood at the start of something new. Not as saviors, not as rulers, but as two people who refused to walk away. One alien girl who dared to speak truth, and one human who dared to save her.